Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is a very, very special and important video on this channel, one that I've never done before and one that I'm extremely excited to do, which is how much money and income I brought in 2021. Now, a couple reasons I'm excited to do this video, and then we're going to get right into it. Number one, I'm excited to do this video because I like there to be sort of this documented timeline of how much effort and progression I'm making over time. And I've seen a lot of other YouTubers do this, and I think it's a really phenomenal idea because you go back to someone's videos from 2017 and they were making XYZ amount of money, and then in 2020 they're making XYZ amount of money, and you see the growth and you see what they did. You see the different revenue streams they created, you see all the different things they learned about finance, and that type of progression is really cool to see documented over time. So I want this video to be the first of many monthly and yearly update videos I do on this channel to be as transparent as possible in terms of how much income I'm making. Number two, I wanted this video to get the attention of people who are new to the channel, right? People who might not know about specific stocks that I'm doing on the channel, specific analyses that I'm doing on the channel. So if you clicked on this video, it's probably because it's just a general title, how much money you made in 2021, and you clicked on it because I click on these types of videos because it's interesting. Like, we're humans and we're a little greedy and selfish, and we want to know how much money other people are making, all in good faith. So if you are new to the channel, check out some of the other videos. We talk about stocks, investing, finance, and we go to deep dives into some of the different stocks, and we talk about investment strategies. See if you like it, and if you do like it, feel free to stick around and join the channel. Okay, a couple things before we get into this video formally. Number one, I have to explain a little bit about what I do in terms of how I make my money, so this makes a little bit more sense. And then number two, we're going to get into some of the numbers. The first thing to understand about how I make money, or how I make my money, is that I don't have a job. I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I don't have like a corporate job. I actually have a startup, and 2021 was the first year of going all in full time on that startup. And because it was going all in full time on that startup, I had to reduce the amount of work I did in terms of my income generating work. And I was able to do so for a couple of reasons that I'll get into, and go a little bit more all in on the startup. So the reason that a lot of the hours you're going to see being worked are not as much as a typical 9-to-5 job is because I didn't have a typical 9-to-5 job, but I did have some resources to be able to generate income. Now, what are those resources? I have my own consulting business, and it's going to be a little bit weird, I understand, but try to follow me here. In high school, I did debate. I did public speaking and debate, and I ended up getting really good, and I got invited to go to a lot of national tournaments and a lot of championships, and I ended up winning a bunch of tournaments and championships. So by the time I graduated high school and got into college, I had all these people asking me to train them for public speaking and debate. They wanted to just learn how to become better communicators, and they were willing to pay some pretty strong amounts of money. And I was like, oh, okay, I should probably do this. I mean, it was a good job in college. It beat working at Starbucks or something. So throughout the 4 years of college, I also ultimately developed a brand reputation and presence within this sub niche of public speaking communication training, and I was able to start a business out of it. So by my junior year in college, I started a consulting firm. It's nothing fancy. It's just A. Cook Raja Consulting, my first initial and my last name Consulting. And I work with clients across the world to help them with their public speaking communication skills. Now, I have a couple of main clients that account for the majority of my income, and that's the sort of stuff you're going to see in the spreadsheet as we get into it today. So all of this money you're seeing is money that's generated from my business. It is not my personal income, which means there's a lot of tax expenses and deductions, and I might make a video on how I'm planning all that out later, but that's sort of the main way that I generate my revenue. Number two, it might seem a little weird of how can you make some type of money within these small sub niches, right? Of just public speaking and communication training. But I think that's the nature of the internet that exists today. The global economy, the way it operates is that there are different people looking to outsource skill sets from other different people, and they're willing to pay for those different things. And if you can tap into those communities and you can market yourself effectively, then you're able to build audiences around those niches that you're able to do, which is kind of the whole great resignation that's going on, people quitting their jobs to sort of start freelancing and going full-time on their own ideas, and you're able to generate some healthy level of income. So I did not have a traditional 9-to-5, traditional corporate job. I had my own consulting firm, and that consulting firm was strong enough to give me enough income per month to be able to do what I needed to do and pay for my expenses. Second thing I want to say before we get into it is I don't have to pay rent because I live with my parents. And if you know anything about Indian parents or South Asian parents, they do not want their kids to move out ever. So my parents are totally fine with me living at home. And to be honest, I'm fine living at home because not only do I clean up and I help a lot around the house, but I just don't see any need to move out. It doesn't make sense to me paying all that money just to live by myself and be alone in a room. So I do live at home, which saves me a lot in terms of rent. And I'll do another video in the future about my expenses. But in terms of that's how I was able to save a decent amount of money because I didn't have to pay rent. All right, let's get into the spreadsheet. All right, let's get into it. So first thing we're going to show you is the total amount of revenue generated for the first client. So I had 2 clients. The second client I didn't get till September. First client I had since January till December. So if we look into it, first client was generating about $1,600 for January, $3,800 for Feb, $5,400 for March, $2,700 for April, $3,000 for May, $1,650 for June, $3,750 for July. And then as you can see in August, it was the lowest at $500 because I worked the lowest number of hours. And then September through December, we started ramping up. We had $5,400, and we had $6,900, $6,900. So 2 good months of averaging around $7,000 per month, and or about like close to $7,000 per month. And then December, we had $4,415. Now this $4,415 includes a $1,000 basically $1,100 bonus. So you could subtract $1,100 from $4,500, and that would be the actual revenue, but or the actual amount made for working, but there was a $1,000 bonus on top of that. Now, you may be asking, why is the income a little bit sporadic? This is kind of how it is with consulting businesses. You work a certain number of hours. Again, it's not a fixed kind of job. So it is pretty consistent from what I can tell from my perspective, right? At least from September through December is averaging around $5,500. And in the early months, it was averaging around 30 or 27 to 3,000. But this is kind of just how it is, right? With a consulting business, you have a client, they have a certain number of hours. Sometimes they don't need you. Sometimes they need you more. So for example, in October, they needed me a lot more, right? Compared to September. Whereas in August, they barely needed me, right? And that's just kind of the nature of a consulting business. It can be super lucrative, but it can also be, less lucrative on the months that you're not needed as much. Now, this is the main clients that I have. This generates most of the income. In total, they generated $46,525.50 for 2021. Client number 2, I didn't get until September, so I recruited them then, and they were paying $800 a month, and they were paying $100 an hour. So really dope client. And I'll tell you how much the other client was paying per hour, but they only needed 8 hours of work per month. So I worked 8 hours per month for them, generated $3,200 for the full year. And this client will likely be continuing until 2022. And I will update you on the numbers of that as I do those monthly income reports in 2022. So let's get a little bit more deeper into the numbers because I wanted to dive even deeper into this. So let's go to hours worked for client 1. So from January till about July, till June, I was getting paid $50 a month from this client. So I just took this number, which was the amount of money I made, divided by 50, and there we get the hours worked. Up until August. August was also $50 a month. July, I had like a summer program with them, so it was about $35 an hour. So that worked out to about 107 hours in total. In September through December, that range decreased to $45 an hour. This was, again, the nature of consulting businesses. Sometimes they reduce their prices because they have more pricing power and they don't need you as much, so they reduce their costs. COVID actually hit this business a little bit tougher, so they wanted to give me a lot more hours. They just couldn't afford the same $50 per hour rate. So I accepted because $45 was really not a big deal. It was just $5 less, and I was working more hours, so I was like, not the craziest thing in the world. So here I worked around 122 hours, 155 hours, 154, and then 74 hours. Again, this is less because if you take this minus 1,000, that's your bonus. So take that number minus 1,000 and then divide that by 45, and you get around 74 hours of work in total. So the hours worked for client 1 in total of 2021 was 981.29 hours. Definitely not the most hours. A lot of people who work a 9-to-5 job, they work 40 hours a week. You multiply that by a certain number of weeks, it well exceeds 981 hours. Again, the caveat here is I was building a startup, so I was totally fine with having less number of hours because a lot of that time I was dedicating to actually build my startup, and that takes a lot of time. It's just hard to manage a corporate job with that at the same time. So this consulting job allowed me to really focus on building on my startup, and for the majority of the year until September, it was all remote. September through December, I actually went there in person, but from January till August, it was completely remote. So I really had a lot of time to dedicate to my startup while generating some level of income to pay my expenses, which was a pretty decent gig. Hours worked for client 2. These 10 hours was like a one-off event. I had some client pay me $500 for like some random service. So I count that as client 1, but it's in this section, but nonetheless, that's just 10 hours. And then we have 8 hours times 4, getting paid $800 per hour, or 800 per hour, I wish, 100 per hour. So that generated 32 hours of work for client 2. Again, that 10 is just a one-off client, so that's 42 in total. So then we have total hours worked per month. This was just this number plus this number, and we got the total number of hours worked per month. I think it's averaging around 70, 80 hours per month. In general, for the year, it was 1,023 hours, 0.29. I worked 1,023 hours. Okay, so then I wanted to actually see the hourly wage that I was making, and this was pretty interesting. So I was getting paid $50 a month from, what do you have it, from January till July, and then $35 a month January till June, $35 a month an hour in July, then again $50 in August, and then let me zoom out a little bit, and then starting in September, I was getting paid $45 a month from client one, $45 an hour from client one, $100 per hour from client two. And I take the total numbers of hours worked, divided it by the total number of B10 plus C10. And that gives you an hourly rate of about $48 an hour in September, $47.70 in October, $47.73 in November, and then $63.60 for December. So that is the total hourly wage I made every single month from January until December being the highest because I worked the least number of hours but still made the most amount of money. That's because of that $1,000 bonus. And in total, my average wage was $48.59 for 2021. So I guess you could round it out to about $49 per hour. Couple of things about this. I definitely didn't work as many hours as most people worked, again, because I was building that startup, but I think I was able to hope to like really retain a decent level of income coming in, enough to at least pay my expenses as a 24-year-old who lives at home. I was 23 for most of the year, while still being able to build my startup and put in most of my energy and efforts into that. But that is the total. So for the actual income, I didn't say this yet, but it was $46,525 plus $3,200, $49,725.50 for the year of 2021. So that's pretty much it. That's my income report. Again, I wanted to do this video because I do want to document it and see in the future in 2022 how much we can get. I want to take this 49,000 and hopefully double, if not triple it, based upon the ideas that I have coming up, and then just keep going further and further and show how much more money I can make. Now, I didn't talk about how much money I made in stocks in 2021. I didn't really see it as a super significant thing to put in here because a lot of it gets washed out. Like, so for example, I made like $1,400 on one trade, but then like I lost like $800 on another trade or something. 2021 was not a phenomenal year in terms of me making money from the stock market. 2022 hopefully is going to be a little bit more of a better year. So I didn't really see it as the most significant thing to increase. I guess you could say my income was maybe 51,000 and just put another 2,000 from the market, but even that's going to be taxed and like there's other expenses associated with it. So I didn't even see it as like something super substantial. It's not at the level where I'm like, oh, this is real genuine income that I should be like factoring in as like money that was made. A lot of 2021 was experimenting with stocks, understanding more about stocks, and picking certain stocks like I have picked, like Palantir, and holding long, understanding more about how to analyze those stocks and just letting them play over time. So if you're new to the channel and you want to see how to analyze stocks and how to understand stocks and how to invest and psychologically integrate your mindset with more stocks, feel free to check out some of the content that we got going there. But that is my income for 2021. 49,000 for a 23/24-year-old who is building a startup. I don't know if that's good or bad. I do know that a lot of that money has been reinvested. I do know a lot of that money, a little bit of that money went off to expenses because my expenses are pretty minimal. Now, when you do have a startup, you do have like random expenses come out here and there. So I probably will do a video if you guys want that. Let me know in the comments of just all my expenses that I had in 2021, because I'm sure if people are interested in that, I can go into detail on that. But I mean, the biggest expenses were just like my car payment and some insurance payments. And other than that, it wasn't too crazy. So I think for the opportunity cost, I have friends who are making $160,000, $170,000 working at like big banks and stuff like that. And that's fine. It's just the time that you have to spend to get that money is time that's spent. So for me, the time that I wanted to spend was to work on building my startup and my, like visions and goals that I had to build into that, which just intrinsically requires a lot of time. So to be able to associate that time on the startup versus on just generating income that would ultimately just like sit in a bank or get invested, it wasn't really meaningful to me. So I think I took a little bit more of a loss this year at 23, 24, making less money, and I probably will do the same 24, 25 to put more time and energy into the startup. And hopefully we can increase that, right? But it's kind of just the way I'm planning out my life right now. Don't need all the money in the world. Do need money to save some of my expenses. Do need money to do some investing. And then from there, just get deeper into building my startup and keep it going from there. Because I do know if I'm going to get rich or become a billionaire, it's going to be off my startup. It's not going to be off you know, like making 100,000 a year, and Uncle Sam's taking 30% of that anyway. So that is my income report. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you got any more information from this income report. Let me know any other videos you would like to see. I do have another video coming out soon because I just got monetized on YouTube on how much YouTube paid me for 100,000 views. That's technically 2021 income, but I'm not going to get paid until 2022 because YouTube takes a long time to pay people. So yeah, coming out with those videos soon. Let me know what you guys thought. Looking forward to your comments. I'll see you in the next one. My name is Mitt. Thank you guys for watching.